All right, so today we're going to talk about naming covalent compounds.
Okay.
So we're kind of switching gears because we were talking about ionic. Now we're going to do covalent. Do you remember what's different about covalent versus ionic?
I remember ionic was a metal and a nonmetal, so it came from two sides of the periodic table.
Mm-hmm.
And covalent's two nonmetals.
Correct.
Okay.
So you're going to see that there is pretty specific difference between naming a nonmetal and a nonmetal versus a metal and a nonmetal.
Okay.
So the first one that we're going to start with is CCl4.
Okay.
Okay. And it says, does it begin with the transition metal?
No, carbon is not a transition metal.
Okay, so we go down, and it says, does the formula contain a polyatomic ion?
I see two capital letters, so I'm going to say no.
Correct.
Okay.
So we go down, and it says, are both elements nonmetals?
Yes, because they're both in the upper right-hand corner of the periodic table.
Correct. So we go down here, and it says, name the first element with the proper prefix except for mono. So what we're really going to do is we're going to look at this first element that we have, and if we just have one, we're going to give it the name that it is off the periodic table. So C would be for?
Carbon.
Carbon. So we'll write down carbon.
Okay.
And then it says, name the second element with the proper prefix for how many you have. So we're counting the atoms on here. Now, here's a rule for the second element. It always gets a prefix. No matter how many we have, it always gets a prefix.
Okay, and I use these right here.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these look familiar, like for my shapes, like hexagons or pentagons or triangles. So can I use that to help me remember what number they stand for?
Most definitely.
Okay.
Okay. So right here it says that we have 4 chlorine. So what do you think the prefix is for 4?
If I look at my handy-dandy flow chart, I'm going to see that it says tetra.
Okay. Pre meaning before, so we're going to put the prefix before we actually name the element. So we're going to say tetra, and now this is where it's actually similar to the way we named ionic compounds because we're going to still change the ending to IDE. Okay. So we have chlorine changes to chloride. So it's tetrachloride.
Is that all one word?
Well, we're going to obviously have carbon and then, yes, all one word, tetrachloride.
Okay, carbon tetrachloride. That's not too bad. Okay, let's try another one.
All right. So next one I have is NO2. First question is it a transition metal?
Nitrogen and oxygen are both in that top right corner, so no.
Okay, so I go down. And does it contain a polyatomic?
2 capital letters, no.
All right. Are both elements nonmetals?
Yes, because they're both in that same upper right-hand corner.
All right, so now this one's a little bit different because again it says give the first element its proper prefixes. So how many nitrogens do I have? 2. So how would I say 2 nitrogens like a scientist?
Well, I need to use my prefixes, right?
Yes.
Down here. Okay, so that is di.
So we're
dinitride.
Good try. But no.
What?
The first element is gonna keep his name like it is off the periodic table.
So nitrogen.
Okay, but you gotta say how many nitrogens.
2. So dinitrogen?
Perfect. That's
Okay.
exactly how you say it. So we've got nitrogen.
So I never change the first one to ide.
Never. He keeps his name like it is off the periodic table, and he gets a prefix if there's more than one.
Okay.
Okay. And now I have oxygen. How many do I have?
1. So
1.
we don't put a prefix for that, right? We just do oxide?
Second one always gets the prefix.
Oh, monoxide.
Monoxide.
I know that word. That's like carbon monoxide.
Yeah.
Okay. Monoxide. Now, is it monooxide with 2 O's?
Nope, just 1.
Okay, because that would look kind of weird.
Yeah, it would look kind of weird.
Okay, so we just drop a no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right. So now we've actually got 2 for you to pause and take a second to actually try on your own.
So look in your guided practice in your packet.
Okay.
All right. Ms. Russman, I'm going to see if I got a handle on this.
Okay.
Okay. So I have P2O5. There's no transition metal there. So I'm going to go down here. No polyatomic because I only have 2 capital letters.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go down there. Are they both nonmetals? P and O are both on the upper right corner. So
Correct.
Yes. So now I know I'm at a and this is how we name all the covalents. Can I skip this stuff if I know it's 2 nonmetals?
If you're getting comfortable with this, most definitely.
Okay. So P2 I need the prefix
Mhm.
on the first one, and it's di. Let's see, I guess I'll write at the bottom and then I'll erase it. Okay, di, and P is phosphorus, and I'm not going to change it. Okay, and then O5 that's penta oxide.
All right, now that does look kind of funny right there when we have those double vowels right beside each other,
Didn't
right?
you say to drop one on the monoxide? Can we do that here?
So which one do you think we should drop, the A or the O?
I think because it's oxygen, I want to drop the A.
Perfect.
Oops, I erased too much. So pent oxide?
Yep, that's exactly how you should do it.
Okay, got it. All right, so diphosphorus pentoxide, and now I have Cl2. So let's see. It's not a transition metal. It's not a polyatomic ion. They're both nonmetals, so I don't have two different things. Is that going to be dichlorine, dichloride?
Now, do you think we would use, if it was just the first element, did we use a prefix on it?
Well, we did, like here, it was diphosphorus.
Okay, so we call that diphosphorus. Did it keep the same name for the first one?
Yeah.
So do you think we should call it chlorine chloride?
That'd be weird.
So you think we should just call it chlorine? Because to change it to ide, we'd need to have two names, and we don't have two names for this. So we would just stick with, what do you think?
You just call that chlorine?
Just chlorine.
Is that one of those diatomic molecules?
Did you remember that from the beginning?
I did.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So she is right. It's what I call, you may hear it called differently from different teachers. I call it the Brinkerhoff Twins. I call it twins because there's two. And Brinkerhoffs, if you actually spell it out, you've got BRINCLHONF. And since they're twins, you would put a subscript 2 on every single one of those. Also, another way that you might hear teachers talk about it, ways to remember the Brinkerhoffs, is if you start at 7 on your periodic table and draw with 7 all the way down to I. So you go start at 7, go over to your halogens, go down, and then remember that hydrogen is one of them as well. So,
okay, so if we see any of those, Cl2, O2, H2, we just call it by its name.
Correct.
Okay, you're tricky.
All right, so we've got the naming down. Good job.